to talk about data display. So put your name on your book here. It is blank on the back, so when we're done, we will glue it in our journal. We're not going to do this whole book today. We're going to talk about dot plots, which we talked a little bit about yesterday. And we're going to talk about bar graphs today. And then we're going to talk about circle graphs tomorrow. Okay? So let's go ahead and go to page 1. Dot plots show blank how often something occurs of data on a line. All right, so what do we think should go here? The frequency, it shows frequency of data on a horizontal line, okay? So look right here. Always pay attention to what you're reading about. So it shows the number of TV a family owns. And one of the strategies I often do, I always put my numbers above it. So there's one household that has 0, 3 that have 1, 4 that have 2, 1 that have 3, and 1 that have 4. Okay? So can we answer some questions about this? Is this data symmetrical? Remember we talked about that word at the very beginning when we started this? No, this is not symmetrical. What does each dot represent? It represents one family. Good job. How many families did they ask? Look at our numbers. 1 and 3 is 4, and 4 is 8, 9, 10. Remember, if each dot represents one family, how many dots do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you see that? What is the ratio of okay, remember a ratio is a fraction that own one TV to the families that own 2 or more. Okay, well, so our numerator is going to be 1 TV. How many families have 1 TV? 3 over our denominator is going to be 2 or more TVs. How many have 2 or more? So that's going to be all of these, right? How many are there? 4, 5, 6. And what do we know about that? 1/2. So we can say 1 out of 2 have 1 TV versus more. Okay? Does everyone see how we did that? What percent, remember percent means out of what? Out of 100. What percent of the people surveyed have 3 or more? Okay, well, we said there were 10 surveyed. Is that our numerator or our denominator? Denominator. Good, that is our whole, right? What parts have 3 or more? Just the 2, only 2. So if we want to change that to a percent, what does that mean? 2 out of 10 is how many out of 100? So 20%. How much greater, we're going to have to do an operation here, was the fraction of people that own at least, at least, that's an old inequality word. More than 2, could it be also 2? Yeah, so this is 2 or more than the people who own less than 2. Now keep in mind, and how much greater, so we're gonna have to maybe do a little bit of math here. What's the fraction of people that had 2 or more? Well, that was up here, right? 1/2 or 3 out of 6. And how many had less than 2? 4 out of how many? 4 out of 10. So would it be better for us to make this into, is this one? Oh, this isn't 1/2. I'm sorry. Because this was out of the whole. I apologize. Let's go back. 2 or more was how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10. I apologize. My fault. I misread. 6 out of 10, and you said less than 2 is 4 out of 10. So how much greater is that? 2 out of 10 or 20%? Okay. Greater. How do you feel about that dot plot? Okay. Should we do another one?
Yeah.
Just to make, yeah, because it can be a little confusing. Let's try another one. This one shows the number of hours students watch TV in a week. I don't know about you. My daughter has way more homework. She doesn't really have time to watch TV. How many people did they talk to? How do we figure that out? One of our first strategies should be writing the number that each of those represents. So we had one person that watches 1 hour. We have 3 people that watches 2 hours. How many people watch 3 hours? 4 and 4 hours. 4 and 5 hours. 5 and 6 hours. And 7 or more. Oh my. 3. So 24 total. I'm going to make that little note around here. 24 total. Good job. So now, which statement or statements are best supported by the information in the graph? Show your work to prove. Okay, so we're going to have to read and decide if it's true or false. The students that watched 5 or more hours of TV represented more than half. Okay, well, how many watched 5 or more? So here's 5. So 5 and 4 and 3 is what? 12. Because is 12 out of 24 more than half? No, it's exactly half. So this one is false. Read cautiously. 1/8 of the students surveyed watched 2 hours of TV in a week. 3 watched 2 hours of TV. 3 out of what? 3 out of 24, part over whole. What do you know about 3 out of 24?
It's 1 out of 8.
It is 1 out of 8. So is this true or false?
True.
This is true. Very nice, right? The ratio, remember ratio is still a fraction, ratio of the number of students who watched less than 3 hours of TV to the total number of students is 6:1. Remember, order matters. Less than 3 hours is first, so that is going to be our numerator. How many watched less than 3 hours? 4 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then out of the total number, how many was our total number? 24. What is this reduced to? 1/6. Is 1 over 6 the same as 6:1? No. Because 6 over 1 is written like this. That would be, so this one is false. That's saying 6 students watched less than 3 hours to every 1 student surveyed. That's not what we're saying here. All right? How do you feel about that? Okay, so can we do an example on our own real quick? So here, you should have done this one with your table. So we haven't really talked about min and max, but it makes sense to know that this is the lowest data piece and this is the highest. The max is not 5 because there's no data there, right? So the max is only the highest point where there's a data piece. The median was 2. Again, we had two middle numbers, but they were both 2, so it's 2. Range is the highest data piece minus the lowest. This is non-symmetrical. What fraction of the people had 2 TVs? 4 out of 10 total was 2/5. Did you reduce, hopefully? And then 3 or more was 2 out of 10, which is 20%. So the next piece that we're going to talk about today is creating a dot plot, interpreting it, and comparing it. And we may not get to bar graphs, but that's okay. We can do those tomorrow if we don't. So here, we haven't made our own yet. All right? This is the height to the nearest inch of students in Mr. Hansen's homeroom. Create a dot plot to represent the data. Remember, dot plots have less than 25 pieces of data, so this would be a good amount for that. We are going to put our numbers on this horizontal line. So these are not actually in order, though, are they? Do you think we should maybe put them in order so we can figure out where to start? What would be our lowest? 56, and then what? 58, and I'm going to actually kind of real lightly mark through them so I know that we've used them. And then what? 61. How many 61s do we have? 2, and then 62, and we have another 62. Make sure you write them both. And then what? 64 and 65. Okay, so now I know. Now we can't, when we go to this number line, we can't jump from 56 to 58. We're going to have to put a 57 in the middle. Okay? So let's start here. We can start with 56. We don't have to write 57. We can jump and write 58, but we need to leave us space for 57. Okay? Then we would have 59, so this would be 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, and we don't have to go all the way to the end. Okay? Is everyone okay with how we numbered that? All right, and then we can put our dots, right? How many 56s did we have? We had 1, and then nothing on 57. How many 58s? 1. Do we have anything on 59? On 60. 61. 2 61s. How many 62s? 2. 63. 64. 1. 65. 1. All right. How do you feel about making that? We could even put a title here if we wanted. We could say heights of homeroom. All right. Can we also interpret, that's what this next one is, interpret the dot plot. So here we have, again, this is a different classroom. Mrs. Miles, this is their test scores. Ugh. Some of those test scores need some improving. Use the dot plot to answer the questions at the right. What is the first thing we should do before we even answer any of these questions? Yeah, we need to put the numbers. So look, we got a 40. Ouch. We have 165. We have 2 70s. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this also helps us when we are adding up to find our total, right? So we have 2, 4, 5, 10, 13, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Is that right? So we have 21 total people in her class. And then we can use that information to answer these questions. Describe the shape of the dot plot. Are the dots evenly distributed or grouped on one side? What do you think? They're grouped on the right. Some of those parents may not be very happy. I think you're right. So when it's grouped on the right like that, maybe there's an outlier. We'll look at it and see what we think. Is there a mean? Can we find the average? We could. We've already done that, and this is a lot of numbers, so that's okay. We'll come back to that one. What's the median? We got 2, and we got 2, we got 2, and we got 2. 4 and 4. So look, it's 85. And what's the mode? What's the range though? Ugh. High minus low. 60, because it's 100 minus 40. I don't ever want to have a range of 60 for any of y'all's test grades, okay? All right, describe the data. Are there outliers? Okay, so when we look at this, an outlier, we're going to have to come back to this. Just to make a note, an outlier is 1.5 times, I have to remember which one it is. It is 1.5 times the IQR, which we will talk about a little later on in our unit. So just write it. We know it is, so an outlier is just one that's like really, really far away from the others. So is there an outlier? Yes. So we'll say 40. Sometimes we need to compare two. The data below represents the shoe size of students in the girls' PE and the boys' PE. I'm going to assume that this is girls and this is boys because typically boys have larger feet. No offense, it's just how it is. All right, and we can use this information to answer our questions, right? Compare the shapes of the plots. What do you notice? Neither are symmetrical. These are more what? The shapes, right? This one has, the shape is more to the left. And the boys are more what? More right. Okay, and so that goes back to, we had one like up here for A, right? So that we use the word skewed, meaning it's towards that direction. What do you think about the centers? Are they the same or are they different? Okay, but mode is not a measure of center. Remember, centers are going to be the mean or the median. So we don't actually have to calculate the mean, but do you think that, could you make a general statement? Whose measure of center is more or less? What do you think? The girls is what? Girls have a higher median? Median, not mode. Mode is the one that shows up the most. Median. The middle number. Well, it asks us to find the middle. Let's do that. Well, high, low. Remember we did this yesterday. High, low. High, low. High, low. Keep going. Oh, look. I could even do this one. So my median is what? 8. And then we can do the same thing for the boys. High, low. High, low. Keep going. It's 10? I think so. So what could we say? The girls have a lower center. What about the ranges? Range is high minus low. What about the ranges? Am I going to do 13 minus 5 on the girls? 11 minus 5, good, is what? 6, and so here we're going to do 13 minus 6, and we get 7. Okay, so that would be looking at 2 of them. All right? All right, we're not going to do this whole page for practice, okay? Notice that number 1 is a bar graph. We did not get to bar graphs today. We're not doing number 1. Don't mark through the whole thing because we'll do it tomorrow. Look here. Number 2 is a dot plot. I want you to circle. You're going to do number 2. It has multiple pieces. All right. When we turn this over, number 1 and 2 are bar graphs. We're not going to do that. But we can do 3 and 4. Number 5 is talking about the bar graph in number 1, so we're not doing that one. But number 6 is talking about the dot plot in number 4. So we're going to do on the back 3, 4, 6, and on the front number 2. All right, and we'll go over that tomorrow.